Everybody, we're going to get started here. So this is the fourth and final installment on the When High Tech Becomes Hot Tech showcase. This is part 4, and so I'm Dr. Sean Nufer, and I'll be talking us through a few platforms that integrate into Canvas. This is our fourth month. Each month we do one, and so this is our final month. And so you can go on the Canvas community or our YouTube page, our department YouTube page, to view the past presentations. And so with that, as usual, my PowerPoint presentation is usually 2 PowerPoints long, and so I am going to hop into Canvas and we're going to get started. So the first thing that I want to show you is a platform called Sketchboard. Sketchboard.me, and this is similar to other platforms that we've talked about in the past. And so here I signed up for an account and I just have the default Sketchboard on. But it's kind of like Padlet, but a little bit more of a mind mapping tool. And so when you log in, you have a default Sketchboard, and it has instructions. And so I'll go ahead and go with the instructions. You'll notice it's kind of like a Prezi feel to it, where I have a canvas and I can scroll in and out. And so this little guy says, I'm a bot. Let's get started. So double click on the background and select the shape. So I'll go ahead and I'll click out to the side here. And I'm going to double click the background, and I have many shapes that I can do. So what is it that you're trying to sketch? Is it a mind map? Is it a demonstration, a process chart? You can choose boxes, you can choose characters, you can choose icons. I'll choose this little guy right here, and I can click and drag him. So I'll drag him to right there. All right, step 2 right here. Now let's make a connection. Select the shape and double click the background or drag from the shape. So I'm going to select this shape and I'm going to double click somewhere down here on the background. And that brings me to another shape that I can use. Now this icon is attached. This line here is attached, so when I move one of these, then it follows along. And I can also customize this if I want it to be a little more wavy, if I want it to wave a certain way. I can be creative with that, and I don't know why I would want to do that. I'm not a very artistic person, but you can change the color of the line as well. You have backgrounds, borders, colors, text. You can change what kind of line it is. And so you can start the mind mapping tool there. And if I want this to end up perhaps right there, I can detach it from that object altogether. And if I'll click on the line and I'll grab the end here, and you'll notice it hovers over green. That means I'm attaching it to whatever this is. So it's an interesting diagramming, mind mapping tool. There are things that you can do down here. If you want to freehand an item, then you can do that. You can draw your own circle. If you double click, if you're drawing something and you double click, then it should close it up. But also if you hold shift while you're drawing, then you can draw more geometric shapes. All right, and double click. I'm going to click off of that, and I can move that that looks like that meme that's popular this month. There are different menu items as well. So once you have your board all figured out, you can share it. You can download a version of it. You can look at your different boards. You can collaborate with other people. You can collaborate with students, with other faculty by adding teammates. You can download, you can export it to Google Drive if you wanted. You can print it out. I would probably save it as a PNG and put it within my Canvas course. And let me just double click on this, and you can also see there's a lasso tool. So when I click on that, then I'll highlight the elements, and all of these will be selected, and I can move them. And you'll notice this one in the corner isn't selected, because in order to select an item, you have to select the whole thing. Oops. Meaning if I were to select only a partial part of this, you notice there's a few pixels that I'm not selecting of this user, so nothing gets selected. You have to select, and this is the same for PowerPoint and for most graphic.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, so when you highlight over over the whole thing, then it'll select it. You can upload images. Now this is free, but they also have paid accounts, and I believe if you want to upload an image or add an image, let's see. There's certain features that you have to pay for that, pay to have that ability, and so you can add images to this if you want. As I hover over here, you can see list the groups of common structures. So if you're looking at roadmaps or general things, if you want to look at packages or certain flow charts, or if you're interested in roadmap or general items, mind maps, then you can add those on here. And so then you would just publish it. I'm going to delete a little bit of this clutter here before I publish. So zoom out. So this is just the default. This is what they give me, but I'll show you what it looks like. So you can share it. You can publish it. You can copy it to a clipboard. I'm going to go ahead and print this. So I'm going to download the board as a PNG. It's going to have a watermark because I don't pay for it. All right, and so I can see the PNG is right there. And then in Canvas, I'll go ahead and add a course or add a file. And I will choose from those downloads this new file, and I'll go ahead and indent it. Or you can upload it into Canvas and then embed it onto a content page if you'd like. So I'm going to move this to I'll move it right before there. All right, so here's my image will show up here in Canvas. Or like I said, you can have a content page, and you can make this smaller. You can put several of them on a content page. But it's just a very interesting free-form mind mapping tool that works within Canvas. The only thing I'll mention that I haven't figured out, and I would really appreciate a way to embed this within a page, and I haven't figured out how to do that necessarily. You can publish it to your gallery, I suppose, and then embed that on there. And what that would do is if you make any changes to this, if you change a color here or there, or if it alters, then you won't have to download a PNG and upload a PNG every time there's a change. And so I guess publishing it to your gallery and then sharing it from your gallery would be a way around that. And there are other options that I'm not covering here as well. So go ahead and you can make comments and obviously collaborations. You can have other people sketching at the same time. So that might be a good tool for a synchronous activity for an online class where people aren't in the same location, but they can collaborate on the board or throughout the semester. Another thing I want to show you is this flaticons.net, and I don't know if people have discovered this already, but this is a very interesting platform for creating flat icons. And flat icons is it's the minimalist style to describe these icons, as opposed to them having texture and depth and field of vision type stuff. These are mostly flat icons. And so you can start by, if you want to look at education, for example, these are free icons, but you can modify these, which is nice. And so if I were to take, for example, this document right here, and I'll click on this document, it'll take me to a page where I have a default document icon, but I can also change the dimensions. And so this is 128. When I download it, it'll be 128 pixels, and icons are squared, so it's technically 128 wide by 128 tall. And I can change that to something like 8. 16 is usually the smallest, and you can see that's barely registered right here. But part of the reason why is because there's some padding around it, which is a good practice. But if I were to take that padding away, then you'll see, well, if I don't take the padding away and and I try and measure, I'm going to go ahead and measure the width of this, of the actual icon. You'll see it's about around 70, 68 pixels wide or so, and that's because I chose that padding, that 31 padding, pixel padding, which is 31 on all sides. So if I were to change that to 0, now I'm going to measure the width of this, and you'll see that it's 128 wide, just like it says up there. Oops, I don't want to actually do a screen grab. And you can make it as large as 256. So, and beyond that, that's a really large icon. And so if you're going beyond 256 pixels squared, then that's really an image and not an icon. But there are some cases when maybe you want to download a large icon just so that you can have that on file, knowing that you'll probably scale it down. A lot of icons in Canvas will be something around the 48, 128 range right there. And so I can put padding. You'll notice if I put more padding, then it gets smaller. So that's about 39 pixels, about 40 pixels on each side, and that's 0 pixels on each side. You can put a background shape as well. So before I do that, I'm going to change the color to something different so that when I put the background shape, then you can see what that does. And all of the images that we saw on that first page have this circle background shape, and they set that as gray, kind of a grayish. So I'll put that as gray. I'm going to put this darker. Oops. I'll put it as that shade and maybe a dark bluish gray right there. And so if I like that icon, then I can download it. I'll just show you what these other options are. I can have, instead of that background circle, I can have a circle outline or a square, or I can have nothing behind it. So maybe I'll download a couple of those just so that we can see what they look like. So when I'm ready, I have this grayish, and I'm going to change that. Even though this background is really dark, it's checkerboard dark grayscale. In Canvas, the backgrounds are white. And so I'm going to go ahead and change this background to something, oops, no, what do I want? Something fairly dark gray. And then I'll change this light, because in design, you always want contrast for the sake of visibility. So if you have a light background, you want dark font or dark images. If you have a dark background, you want something really light. So this can't really be seen very well because it's so dark. It's dark on dark. And so if I bump up the lighting a bit, then maybe even make it kind of a teal, kind of a colorful thing there. So I'll go ahead and download that as an image. And I'll download a couple of them. I'll download one with no background and more of a darker image right there. So there's a couple right there, and let's play around with that, see what that looks like. I'll call this icons, and I'm going to bump it up to our icons section, indent it, and feel free to follow along in the course. I'll go ahead and put this chat. All right. Sorry, got distracted on the side right there. So I have some icons right here. I am going to upload those images. I'm going to find, I think these are the two of them. So I'll do this one first. Uploading. So there's the one icon. Let's upload another one. I uploaded the same one. How about that? Oops, upload a new image. Sorry, I know how to do this. All right, so here are my two icons, and then of course icons should be small, and so you would shape those to whatever. And you can see, actually, if I were to let me undo that and click on the image, then it says the dimensions right here. So it's 128, which is exactly what I asked for. I asked for a 128, image, and I'm going to bump that down to maybe 48. So that's more like what an icon would look like. Let me do that with this guy as well. All right, and so you have a repository of icons. You can change the color of the icon. You can change the padding, increase, decrease the padding. I'll go back to this main page, and you can see that there are literally hundreds of icons that you can choose from. In fact, this miscellaneous category right here has about 700 different icons. I can sort by, let's see, the alpha. I don't know what alpha means. I assume that's the most common. So yeah, all kinds of icons, even a Disney icon. Look at that. And you can change and manipulate those, and it's free, and you can put them right in your course and dress up your course nicely. I'll save that. Why not? Why wouldn't I save it? Hop back over to modules. So we talked about sketchboard and flat icons. I'm going to talk about Storyboard, which I'll mention this preemptively. Most of the people on this call are higher education people, professors and in academia. And this, at first sight, this is a very K-12 platform, but I think it could be integrated into some of our courses. It probably doesn't have a home in every single course that we teach, but with application, I think that this would be really interesting. So it's called storybird.com. You'll create an account and sign in. I created an account, and what you can do is create storyboard books. You can create picture books, poetry. So I'm going to click on this Create tab. I don't have anything really in my studio at this time. There are 3 different types of books or interactions that you can create. One is a picture book, which is going to have a lot of visual appeal with very few words. And so here's a storybook. Now Storybird provides all the art for you, and you just provide the words, and you can choose which art that you want to use. It's going to hop back. So that was a picture book. It is a little case 6-ish, but I think that there could be some fun applications of that too. You can also create more chapter books. So these would be long form. There would be one image. You can put images down in the words as well, but it's mostly narrative in that sense. So you can have different chapters. And then there's poetry, which would be one big image and words on the image. And so those are the 3 different types of things that you can create. And so then to start, you just you can look through all the artwork, or not even all, because there are thousands of artwork here. But if you click on one, then you can see all of the things that artist drew. And so if you're trying to find something that appeals to me, that looks new, I'll try that. I'll click on this. This is an image called Terra. And I can see all of the things that this artist has done. So I can see looks like he has about 18. And so if I like that imagery, then I can choose this. I can click on one of those and I can use that as the art. Otherwise, I'll just go back and keep scrolling, see if there's something relevant to me. So here's something a little more minimalist, a little more simplistic. This person has 33 pieces of art. And some of the art is very simple, and some of it is a little noir. Some of it, it just depends. You can scroll through, and you can find all the art. So, for the sake of, let me use this, and I can create maybe a picture book, a multi-page picture book. And so now I have this art here, but I can swap out the art if I want something different. If I want to start out right in the action, for example, or looks like I could do a fairy tale with this. And then I can choose the text. I can put text over on the left side. And I can also create a cover. They have some default covers that I can choose from, and I can style it in different ways. and I can put that cover on there. I can save, and I can exit. I can add more pages. I can add as many pages as I want. So that's how you would create an interaction. And I went ahead and created an example page. This is the discussion board in Canvas. So you would put your instructions here at the top. And so my application, consider it's the beginning of the semester, and we typically have introduction discussion posts. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from. Show us your kids or your hobbies or your vacation pictures, whatever. But you can also have the students create these books, and they can embed them right into a post. And so I didn't create these. I just embedded these from that other people have done. And so here's an example of one, a story of a girl, and it kind of shows her life, her journeys, and so it's a very visual way for her to talk about herself. And the end. And so then I replied with other comments. Here's what some other stories might look like. Here's one about psychology, the psychology of introverts. And so instead of, it doesn't replace a research paper necessarily, but it could be an interactive way for them to present information. Here's some facts about autism that somebody created. You can see the different formats. A cognitive approach to psychology. Finding love. And then here's an example of what more of a storybook would look like. And so you can scroll down and you have more text, and you have imagery, and you have different chapters as well. And so you can see up here all of the various chapters. I can scroll from one chapter to the next. And this is something that they could work on throughout the course of the semester. So it doesn't necessarily have to be very infantile either. I mean, this can have real content. So that's what a book would look like. Here's another example of a chapter-based book and different chapters. And so again, it's not a scholarly academic research paper necessarily, but it could be a reflective journal that they keep throughout the semester, and maybe for each module or unit they need to add a chapter to their book, and it could be sort of a reflection exercise. And you can even create a discussion thread like this one that I created, and so that they can share and comment on each other's chapter books. So it's free, and it's very interesting. And one interesting thing also is if you like the art, you can actually buy the art. And so these are real artists. They provide the art for you, and then you have options. I think that's a nice touch there. You can buy a piece of framed art if you'd like. But one thing I didn't show you is so scrolling through all the different art, there are several different pages. And there are pages and pages and hundreds of pages. So I can advance over to page 50. On page 50 I'm still having art. And I can also search for certain art things. Like a college probably won't come up with too many, but there's 1,600 books created based on this topic of college. Maybe look for science. And there's some science. Here's long form would be the chapter book. Science. Okay. I feel you. So yeah, you can search for all kinds of topics. Literature, maybe. So you can see what other people have done, and you can go into their books as well, and you can like it, you can retweet it, you can share it, which is what I did to get that into Canvas. I just grabbed the embed code, copied it, and as HTML, just copy that HTML in there, and there's the code, and click done, and then the book is in there. Easy as that. So it's fun. It's not one of the typical technologies that I share, but with some application, I think that could definitely have a place within the classroom on occasion. So Test Teach is the next tool right here. Let me log in. Oh, why don't you remember me? Log in with Google. Apologies. I thought I was already logged in right there, but I wasn't. All right, so test is interesting. Let me show you this, what this would look like within Canvas before we dive into that. So this is my teaching board. It's well, this is a default board that they show you as an example, but it's kind of like a lesson plan where you have different components of a topic, and so you can put together pieces that are videos, images, various resources, and so I'm going to go to my, not my resources. Hang on. My lessons, sorry. Okay, so once I'm on my lesson dashboard here, I'm going to create a new lesson. I can look at all the lessons I've created, which right now is nothing. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to call it Psychology. And then you can find, you can see by default I have a 2x3 grid right here. I can add text, quizzes to this. I can drop resources. So to drop a resource, I might search YouTube, for example. Let's see what YouTube pulls up with for psychology. Here's an intro crash course to psychology, so I'll go ahead and drop that in there. The marshmallow test. Let's search for Google, maybe put the Google Wikipedia page for psychology. You can also search Google Images for psychology, so maybe I'll throw a couple images up there. Search for Flickr. I can insert a specific web page that I would like. If I have resources, then I don't have resources because I was just on my resource page. But you can add resources and stash them away and then put them on your board. Insert stuff from Dropbox or OneDrive, or I guess this is a Google Drive. Upload different media, for example. Search the test resources, so they have certain things that are built in. So and some things are free. Let's look at social psychology bookmark. So let me drop that in there. All right, and I can add a row if I want it. If I want even more psychology videos, for example, psychology of self-motivation. Let's talk about narcissism, and let's talk about Michael Jordan. I don't know why the mind of Michael Jordan. Actually, that is a legitimate thing to study. So I can go ahead and share that and embed it. There's the iframe right there. So I'm going to hop back over here. I already have one embedded on here, but for me to embed, so it's right there. I'm going to go to this HTML editor. I'll put mine first. All right, this one is mine. I'm just going to make that its own paragraph. Oops. Bam. And then this one's the other one. It's the demo. All right, go ahead and save that. What? Not there. What are you talking about? Not there. Anyway, so let me instead maybe grab that share code or something. Lessons. You're seeing me troubleshoot on the spot right here, so I'm gonna copy you. All right, what I would do, I'll just talk you through it. Copy this tag right here, put it on, so www.test.com/lessons, and then I'd replace that source with those lessons right there, and it should save. So it would look something like it does down there, embedded on there. So little bit tricky, I suppose, but then this will interact, and you can have comments on there as well. You can look at the different slides. It's kind of like a PowerPoint presentation. You can progress in a linear fashion, or you can jump from one to the other. People can like it. I can full screen this thing if I want, and so I can present from there as well. I mentioned you can add comments, so I can put a comment on this slide right here, and the students can comment on there as well. And so it would be an interesting, probably a discussion, kind of like a voice thread in a way. Let me close that down, and so yeah, here are the different slides, and you can share that. You can collaborate with the students. So that's an interesting platform to consider.
Hey, Sean.
Hi.
Do the people watching this webinar have access to the Hot Tech course in Canvas?
Yeah, I put the link right in the chat window at about 1:13. So click on that link. This is an open course. You don't have to be logged in to my institution to view the course. Anybody can view it. You'll see the view as a student view. Obviously, I'm seeing it as an admin or a teacher. So it'll look even cleaner in that sense. So yeah, feel free. And this course has all of the things that we've ever shared in all of these this webinar series. These are housed right here. So everything from ThingLink to iSpring, VoiceThread, Storyline, Interactions, Office Mix and Sway. There's Edpuzzle. All of those are, I label them as part 3. And then the first ones I didn't really label. After the second webinar, I just started labeled them part 3 and part 4 so that we'd go through the webinar in a linear fashion. All right, so Yakti. Yakti is another interesting board. It's a way for you. It's very similar to that test site, except for test, I think the presentation-wise, it's much more minimalist. It's very grid-like, and you have resources right in the grid right there. And this would be more like, it looks kind of like a blog, or and so you have things vertically, and you can put resources onto the blog and then share that. So I'm going to go ahead and edit. Yakti, you can sign up for a free account as well. And I titled a board named Psychology, and I said this is a collection of intro psych resources. And so I put a video in there. And let me get rid of some of these things. Let's start from scratch. How about that? All right, so you can drag and drop objects from the toolbox to start a new story. And so I can put text on the page, a video. I can search for a tweet or a Facebook, search Flickr, a lot of the similar interactions that we saw before. So here's YouTube. I'm going to put a YouTube video. Again, I'm going to search for psychology. Like I said, here's that. I think that's the same video that we used on the other page. So an intro to psychology, crash course psychology. So I can add that. I can delete it. I can edit that video if I wanted to choose a different one, for example. And I can also cut it. This is an 11-minute video. It's an 11-minute video, but suppose there's really one section that I like. So I can say I want you to start at about the 8-minute mark and just play that 30 seconds or so. And I can say, okay, that's the part that I really want. And so I can click done. And then when I play it, then it'll just play that cut portion. I can drag a tweet, for example, search for psychology and find whatever, I don't know. I can add a couple of tweets. I'm sure those are very good tweets. I can add a Facebook search, maybe that Wikipedia page. And of course, I'm going to search for psychology, and there's applied psychology and positive psychology. I'll just go ahead and add this this main psychology page right there. If I chose the wrong one, I click edit and I can choose a different one. All right, and so the interesting thing also is that you don't have to do this just from within the browser here. You can also go onto the internet, and so they have this thing to collect things while you're surfing. Drag this icon to the bookmark bar on your browser, and so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put this Yakti collect, and then I can hop over to another page. Let me just search for psychology today or something. Now if there's something on here that I like, I'll click on this article, and there's a good quote from this article. I'm going to go ahead and click on this, what do you call it, a snippet collector? I forget. So you can, to collect the whole page, you'd click right there, or point over an image or a video, or select some text, and then click on the pop-up that will appear. So I can say, you know, this paragraph is really good. Let me highlight that paragraph, and then I'll collect that. And I can add that to the set, and I can have different sets. I can have lots of different sets. You can have one for every module, every topic that you're choosing. I just have the one that's psychology, and so I'm going to go ahead and collect that. That's good. So let me see if I can find an image as well. So I'm going to click on this image as well, and I'll click that. All right, so let me drop these images that I collected and that snippet. Here's that snippet that I just found, so I'm going to put that over here as well, and I can caption the image, you can delete things, and let me put change the order a little bit. All right, so I have my thing, and then you can go ahead and save that. You can preview it. Let's preview, see what it's going to look like. Grab the embed code. Now the embed code is not going to really work in Canvas. I'm going to say this is education. All right, so that's published. There's embed code right here, but I'll mention this won't work in Canvas. You can't embed this in Canvas. It's a script, and until they update that to an iframe of sorts, then the best thing you can do is just grab the whole page and embed the page, or like I did, that's a demo, and you can see that I just did a URL page within the module. And so that's really the best that we can do at this point, is click on this, and then I have it open up in a new window. Otherwise, have it open up. It's your choice. You know, if you want it to open up right in Canvas, either way. And so in terms of integrating into Canvas, it can be improved, I think. If you were to hop out of Canvas, then I think that's a better interface. And then you can collect certain statistics on it, and you can like other people's things and such. And so that's an interesting way. So that's two different options. We're looking at Yakti, and we're looking at Tez Teach for presenting content in an interesting way. Now, this last thing that we'll talk about here is EduBlogs, and I think that a lot of people probably already know what EduBlogs is, but I wanted to discuss it in this webinar series. Now, most people are familiar with WordPress, or at least you've heard of what WordPress is, and a lot of websites are actually built on the WordPress framework, but the framework is primarily a blogging infrastructure, and EduBlogs leverages that WordPress infrastructure in an educational sense. And what I mean is that you can have classes where students can blog, and then they can share their blogs, and it can integrate within your class in the setting. So I'm going to click on this. Let me actually pop this out to the other window, clean stuff up. So this is a blog I created. I put a lot of time and effort into this blog, as you can see, with the default boilerplate text right there. But I created an account called EdTech and created a blog. So I'm going to hop over to my dashboard. Now in this role, I'm showing this. I'm a teacher, so I'm showing you what a teacher would look like. So I have my class. My class is called EdTech. If I click Visit Site, it just takes me to that blog that I just showed you. Now I can look at student blogs. I don't happen to have students enrolled in this class, but I can create different blogs. So you can create the blogs for students to blog to, and these could be different topics in your course, different modules within the course, for example. You can create a blog for each one, or you can have students create the blogs. Now student users, I don't have any students, but they would be listed right here. Their roles, how many times they posted, their username, and such. I'm just going to click on class there. I can create student users if I wanted to, add a student, an existing user if they already have an account. I can pull them in, or I can create an account for them for each student. That's a lot of work, and I don't like doing a lot of work. Even if I only have 10 students in my class, I'm probably not interested in that. So what I would do is invite students to participate in my class, and I'm going to send them a new invite code. And so it'll generate a link that they can click on. It'll take them to the page where they register. They'll sign up for an account, and I'm going to put a code. So if the class I'm teaching is IO 527, then and I can say the defaults, they're going to be students. I can choose to have them be collaborators or subscribers or whatever, but I'm going to have, this is my student thing. So then look at blog creation. Don't allow users to create a blog in the process, or yes, allow them to, or force them to. I'm going to go ahead and force them to. Add new invite code. So this is what I would send off to the students. And I can edit that after the fact if I wanted to. But I would email this link right here, which is drnufer.edublogs.org, and then the invite code, which is unique for my class, essentially. So I'm going to go ahead and send that to my students. They'll create their accounts, and then they can start collaborating on the blog with me. Now, this is a free website. If you want to give them money, then you'll get more things. So click on the upgrade blog, and they're going to say, hey, you know, it's great that this is free, but wouldn't you like hundreds of themes and plugins, and it doesn't cost all that much money? And so yeah, you can make your blog look pretty amazing by paying them a little bit of money. But you also have a lot of have a lot of thematic elements that you can add anyway. So these are different themes that you can choose from. And go ahead and choose something. Now this looks like a pretty good school blog, I think, for my page. A notepad blog. All right, so here's my blog, my post. All of this stuff can be modified and edited. Now, if you're familiar with WordPress, then this will all be, none of it will be new to you, but because this interface is exactly what you see in all of those WordPress sites, the back end. So I can see all of my posts. I only have one post. It's the default post, but I can click on that and edit that if I want. I can choose when do I want to publish it. And this is just the rich text editor like you're used to seeing. Here's the title. Here's the link to this blog post right here. And I can change different formatting, making it look absolutely awful right here. But you know, just to walk you through what's capable of. A few more options down here, and this is the visual editor. You can also switch that over to the text editor if you wanted to change things around. You know, change that from H3 to H4, embed things. In fact, I could embed some of those other things that I was sharing with you. I guess let's just play around with one of those storybirds. Where's the embed code for that? Anyway, I won't show you that then, but you can embed anything in here. I could even embed that script. Let me see, that YACT that we were saying we can't embed it within within Canvas. That should be able to embed here, and so then I would just update the page right there, and I'll click on a new page. It still doesn't embed. Goodness, don't use script. That's just an antiquated. Don't use script. Always use iframes. That's the lesson we're learning right here in real time. So if I wanted more posts, then I can add a post. I just put the title of the post, put the content of the post. You can get sophisticated. I won't walk through this, but you can put different categories, different tags. You can choose when to publish it. If you want, if maybe you have posts that you want to go throughout the semester, throughout the course, and so you can set those to publish every Sunday or every Monday morning. And so you can type all the posts ahead of time and then just have them roll out when you want to. You can add media. You'll have a library. My suggestion is that, for example, if you have a video, look for a video on YouTube or upload your video to YouTube and embed it from YouTube onto the page so it doesn't take up space. I don't know how much space EduBlogs gives you necessarily, but it's really not going to be all that much, especially if you're uploading videos. So upload it to a video sharing website and then just embed that over. You can see the links, all of the links that you include on your pages. There are various plugins and widgets and ways that you can customize the blog. And that's just typical of WordPress infrastructure. But the I mean, the real advantage to EduBlogs is the collaborative nature that students can collaborate with their blogging endeavors, and they can be moderated as well.
Sean?
Hey.
There is a question that I'm not sure if we can answer. I don't know. Do you want to just read it because it's kind of long, or do you want me to read it to you?
Let me search for that. Can you tell me who is asking the question?
By Brenda. It's the EduBlogs plugin for Canvas question. It should be the last one there.
No, I don't use the EduBlogs plugin, and that's not LTI, right, Brenda? I actually searched for an LTI app in the App Store, and I couldn't find an EduBlogs or a WordPress app in the LTI store, and so no, we're not using the plugin for Canvas. If anybody else is, that it would be really interesting to find out how that integrates, because at this point. I was integrating the blog by, I'll show you on the module here, putting the, what do you call that, the module page that's a URL redirect. And so you can see, and you can see all those changes that I made. It pushes out in real time. And then this next page, I went and used an iframe. And I actually like the look and feel of the iframe better. And so that's the only thing that I could really figure out how to incorporate EduBlogs into Canvas. And the reason why the iframe is good, because you can put that on a content page, and then the page isn't just the blog. You can have content before and after, and so the blog can be a component of the page as opposed to this other page where the blog is the page, and that's the only thing on the page. And I like the look and the feel of embedded content better than the URL content anyway. Although the URL is nice that you have the ability to click out and it just takes you to the native page. So so that's my answer. It seems like they are offering customers the app, but it's not in the App Center. Since our institution doesn't have a paid license to EduBlogs at this point, then I don't think that they would be offering us anything anyway, but we'll see. Good question. And it would be interesting, Brenda, to hear from your end, you know, if you update us in the Canvas community, like how you're, you know, how that progresses, because I know Canvas has a pretty firm stance that the blogging infrastructure is not part of the Canvas infrastructure, because blogging inherently is a very external, it's a very outside of the LMS endeavor where you're blogging for the world, or it's something that's very much published and public, whereas the LMS environment is FERPA protected, for example, which I guess that a side note for all of these interactions that I mentioned, students might be putting content out there, never provide assessments or feedback related to the gradebook on a public setting. Always make sure that that's in the gradebook within Canvas or through a secured email or something. So just a FERPA CYA right there. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much, that wraps up this webinar right here. So if you have any questions or comments, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but I want to thank everybody for joining us. A lot of people are veterans of this 4-part series and endured me for several hours worth of ed tech exploration, and I very much appreciate that. And you can look for this video posted up on YouTube later this afternoon.